Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Battle Through the Heavens based on novel. So let's start. Currently, Feng City was already completely controlled in the hands of Xiao Gate. Given their strength, it was already sufficient to manage a reputable auction that focused solely on the sale of medicinal pills. Hence, Xiao Li finally sent out the information of an auction being held through various channels after a few days of preparation. At this moment, anyone who naively thought that the so-called Xiao Gate merely had a strength that was close to a first-tier faction possessing only an elite Do Wang might really have a brain that was damaged. Hence, everyone obediently shut their mouths when news that the Xiao Gate was holding a medicinal pill auction spread in the Black Corner region. No one dared to express any mockery. Moreover, not long later, the other factions felt lucky that they had remained silent after the three large factions announced that they would send helpers to help maintain order in Feng City. This Xiao Gate really did seem to be hiding a terrifying strength that caused the three large factions to be afraid. Xiao Li had naturally informed Xiao Yang of a big matter like holding an auction. Xiao Yang also clearly understood that such an auction would require an expert of a certain level around. Otherwise, trouble would definitely appear. Hence, he had ceased his dull pill refining one day before the start of the auction, and quietly discussed matters with Queen Medusa for a long time. Only then was he totally assured. Time passed and the medicinal pill auction finally began amid the expectations of a countless number of people. On the day it opened, numerous black-clothed figures, who emitted a rich bloody scent from their bodies, stood around the auction grounds like statues, giving everyone a feeling of pressure and fear. Within their hearts, various large and small auctions would frequently appear within the Black Corner region. However, there will also be some trouble today. Xiao Li suddenly knit his brows and whispered. What trouble? Xiao Yang lifted his eyebrows and asked without a change in his expression or tone. The activity I have created this time around is too big, and it has attracted many factions from the Black Corner region over. There were quite a number among these factions who were members of the Black Alliance back then. It is even rumored that the Gold-Silver brothers will also attend. Xiao Li helplessly said. You are afraid that they will create trouble. Xiao Yang spoke with a smile. Those fellows aren't ordinary people. Especially the Gold-Silver brothers. They may be afraid of the Jiunan Academy, but they aren't the least bit afraid of us. Xiao Li nodded as he replied. Relax. It's only two old fellows who won't die. Second brother, you only need to ensure that the auction will progress until the end. Leave everything else to me. This all right? Xiao Li hesitated a little when he heard this before he immediately nodded. He had a great confidence for Xiao Yang. Even that kind of incomparably fierce woman like Queen Medusa was suppressed by him, much less these fellows. The Gold-Silver brothers, who had their eyes shut amid the private conversations, also slowly opened them. Ridicule was revealed in their eyes as they glanced at Xiao Li on the stage. One of them laughed coldly. Brat, let the true leader reveal himself. If you are really the leader of Xiao Gate, there is no longer a need to hold the auction today. Regardless of how one put it, Han Feng possessed quite a great reputation within the Black Corner region. Although he died to Xiao Yang's hands, it is not up to a younger generation like you to occupy his city. Since they were the strongest people currently in the Black Corner region, quite a number of people voiced their agreements after the words of the Gold-Silver brothers sounded. It was only too common to find people who would add insult to injury within the Black Corner region. Xiao Yang, you have killed the Black Alliance chief Han Feng, yet you still dare to come to the Black Corner region. The cold cry that was emitted from the mouths of the Gold-Silver brothers immediately caused the entire auction house to become noisy. Numerous shocked gazes started at the black-robed, young man on the stage. This extremely young fellow was actually the Xiao Yang, who had killed medicinal Emperor Han Feng. Although Xiao Yang's reputation had spread across the entire Black Corner region, many people were still unfamiliar with his appearance. Hence, they felt disbelief when they saw that this strong person, who was rumored to be able to kill Han Feng, was actually this young. Xiao Yang's gaze swept toward the ugly expressions of the Gold-Silver brothers as he laughed softly. The faces of the Gold-Silver brothers similarly turned green at this provocation of Xiao Yang. A moment later, a somewhat sharp voice sounded in the auction ground. A brat who doesn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. Do you really think that you can dominate the Black Corner region by defeating Han Feng? Back then, if Su Qian, that old fellow who won't die, did not protect you, I would have killed you. The private conversations within the auction hall was immediately reduced greatly when everyone saw the Gold-Silver brothers becoming furious. Numerous gloating gazes were looking at Xiao Yan on the stage. Two powerful auras surged explosively from the Gold-Silver brothers after their voices sounded. After which, their auras merged and covered the entire auction ground. Alright, Gold-Silver brothers, kill this little brat. We will then join hands to completely finish off the entire Xiao Gate. Feng City cannot land in the hands of these fellows. The people behind the Gold-Silver brothers, who were once members of the Black Alliance, began to immediately cry out with excited faces when they saw the former's actions. They similarly coveted Feng City, and naturally did not wish for such a big cake to land in Xiao Yang's hands. The Gold-Silver brothers also gave a dark, solemn smile upon hearing everyone's support. The aura that surged out from their bodies also gradually became stronger. Today is the day that my Xiao Gate is holding an auction. Anyone who behaves atrociously in this place will be viewed as an enemy. It is no different for you two old fellows. He, what an arrogant tone. Today, Su Qian and the many experts from the Inner Academy aren't around. Do you think you have the right to speak to us in this manner? The Gold-Silver brothers ended up laughing from extreme anger upon hearing Xiao Yang's the endlessly arrogant tone. Xiao Yang glanced at the two of them, but did not speak. He slowly raised his hand and gently waved it. A gentle voice was emitted from his mouth. Sorry to trouble you, but please have these two fellows become quiet. Xiao Yang's voice had just sounded when the space beside him became distorted. Immediately, a bewitching and lovely figure filled with allure slowly surfaced in front of all the gazers in a ghost-like manner. The bewitching beauty, who had suddenly appeared, caused some of the gazers in the entire hall to immediately shrink. Some of those with weak mental strength had faces which had turned flushed red and their throats rolled. All sorts of ugly behavior appeared under the bewitching face, which possessed far too great an allure to men. The cold smiling faces of the Gold-Silver brothers slowly stiffened the moment Medusa appeared. They had an extremely deep impression of this woman, who was so beautiful that she seemed like an evil demon. Back then, Han Feng was kicked to death by this cold-blooded woman. Moreover, the thing that caused their hearts to sink was that this woman was a true elite dozong. Damn it. Isn't this woman chasing after Xiao Yang? Why would she appear in this place to help him? The Gold-Silver brothers' green faces revealed a slight paleness. The powerful aura that covered the entire hall, in an overbearing manner, quietly weakened under Medusa's faint gaze. A moment later, it became just like a mouse that had seen a cat as it completely shrank back into their bodies. Was actually able to cause even the Gold-Silver brothers to be afraid. Xiao Yang half smiled as he watched the Gold-Silver brothers' somewhat stiff faces. He then asked, you two, do you think that our Xiao Gate has the qualification to occupy Feng City? Gold Elder, Silver Elder, Feng City is our Black Alliance headquarters. It must not land in the hands of these fellows. As long as the two of you give the order, our troops in Feng City will immediately act. I guarantee that we will finish off all of the strength of Xiao Gate within half a day. A fellow behind the Gold-Silver brothers, who did not recognize Medusa, immediately spoke when he heard Xiao Yang's extremely provocative words. The large auction hall was completely silent. Everyone revealed stunned face as they watched the Gold-Silver brothers, who had suddenly scolded the man in a righteous manner. They felt a comical feeling in their hearts. These two old fellows were really shameless. Xiao Yang let out a faint smile as he watched the farce. He knew that after today, the reputation of Xiao Gate would completely resound throughout the Black Corner region. Thank you very much for this. Xiao Yang held the teacup, as he suddenly turned around and softly spoke to the cold-faced Medusa. Medusa still retained her cold pretty face in the face of Xiao Yang's thanks. Her delicate waist revealed a graceful arc that was filled with allure under her dress, causing one to involuntarily have an impulse to hug and play with it. At this moment, Medusa's emotions were extremely chaotic. According to her character, she should have ignored him when Xiao Yang asked her for a little help. However, when she saw the earnestness and hope on the other party's young face, a kind of unusual emotion quietly seeped out from deep within her spirit, causing her to swallow the rejection that had reached her mouth. Although she knew that this kind of unusual emotion was definitely due to her merger with the spirit of the heaven-swallowing python, this kind of creeping influence also caused her to be quite frustrated. Medusa lifted her eyebrows, but continued to remain silent. Xiao Yan placed his teacup gently on the table and rubbed his head. He immediately spoke somewhat awkwardly, "Actually, there is not much grudge and hatred between us, right? Back then, in the underground, I was really unable to control myself. All the trouble was caused by that damn fallen heart flame. Back then, if you had not brought the heaven-swallowing python that I had evolved into a way after I successfully evolved, I would naturally not have any involvement with you. Moreover, if I was given sufficient time, I would have been able to merge with the spirit of the heaven-swallowing python sooner or later." Queen Medusa's cold and indifferent face began to melt a little as this thought lingered in her heart. However, before Xiao Yan could rejoice in his heart, after discovering this scene, she appeared to have suddenly recalled something as her face once again became cold. She coldly spoke, "Even if I can stop caring about that matter, you are unable to find excuses for the shameless thing that you did to me while I was still in a weak state. According to the rules of our snake people race, if our body is violated when we are unwilling, we must take the human head of the one who violated us back. After which, we must throw it into the holy pond of our clan and allow it to corrode away." Xiao Yang's face stiffened when he heard this. He suddenly sensed that his neck had become chilly. This woman, did she really plan to bring his head back to settle this? "You must refine the soul recovery pill once our agreement is over. At that time, I will settle these grudges myself." Medusa completely ignored Xiao Yang's stiffened face, as she spoke with a cold smile. "Moreover, you can forget about trying to delay the matter. The moment the 1-year agreement arrives, your ending will similarly not be any good if I am unable to see the medicinal pill." Medusa's body shook once her words sounded. After which, she slowly disappeared from the chair. Xiao Yang helplessly shook his head, as he looked at Medusa's disappearing figure. It was indeed not easy to hoodwink this woman. From the looks of it, he could only take things slow. Fortunately, there was still quite a bit of time until the agreement was over. He could still try to think of ways to change the woman's feelings toward him for the better. What a headache! Xiao Yang's finger rubbed his temples. A moment later, Xiao Yang, who was unable to think of any solution, could only raise his head and wail. The auction continued for nearly an entire day, before it ended perfectly, just as the sky gradually turned dark. Hence, the successful auction this time around had not only allowed the Xiao Gate to make a great profit, but had also allowed Feng City, which had become a little bleak following the dissolution of the Black Alliance, to once again return to its popularity at its peak. Moreover, it even exceeded this peak by a little. This point somewhat exceeded Xiao Yang's and Xiao Li's expectations. Xiao Li sent out his men to purchase all those expensive medicinal ingredients he had ordered from all over the place at the fastest possible speed the day after the end of the auction. The joy on Xiao Yang's face was not the least bit hidden when he received the medicinal ingredients, which had been stored in good condition, from Xiao Li's hands. He understood that with these medicinal ingredients, the day Yao Lao would reawaken was not that far away. Once Yao Lao awakened, the day he returned to the Jioma Empire was similarly not far away. All the grudges would end at that time. The black-robed, young man was naturally Xiao Yang since he had left Feng City. There was likely going to be large activity when he woke Yao Lao this time around. Hence, he would naturally be unable to do this in a crowded place like Feng City. Hence, after Xiao Yang informed Xiao Li, he and Medusa once again entered the deep mountains. In the endless, deep mountains, the activity, regardless of how massive it was, would completely disappear between the cover of the many mountains. Xiao Yang's gaze swept to the left and right of this precipitous mountain peak. The quiet space was such that one even had difficulty hearing the chirping of the birds. A moment later, he nodded his head with satisfaction, and raised it to the top of the cliff and cried out loud. "Kaylin, I will have to trouble you. Don't let anything disturb me." Laughter was transmitted up. One could faintly see a graceful figure standing on top of the mountain cliff. However, she appeared to act as though she did not hear Xiao Yang's cry, and was too lazy to even give a reply. Xiao Yang was long used to this attitude of Medusa. Hence, he did not display any expression. He knew that this woman might ignore him verbally, but she would usually perform a task she had promised him to the point that one could not pick on it. Xiao Yan was able to completely rest assured with her protecting him by the side. Xiao Yan crossed his legs and sat on the smooth huge rock. He slowly shut his eyes as he forced his breathing and heart to enter into a calm, slow rhythm. Only then did he flick his finger. A crimson-colored medicinal cauldron once again fell and smashed heavily on the enormous rock, causing it to tremble a couple of times. The appearance of these medicinal ingredients were all somewhat strange. However, the unusual scent they faintly emitted caused a person's spirit to gain a comfortable feeling similar to that of being soaked in a hot spring. The smile on Xiao Yan's face grew richer as he sniffed the unusual medicinal fragrances. All of these medicinal ingredients possessed good effects for one's spiritual strength. Xiao Yan flicked his finger gently, and a wisp of glazed lotus heart flame flashed and appeared. Finally, it played just like a fire spirit as it danced around Xiao Yan's finger in an agile manner. Go! With a gentle cry, the wisp of glazed lotus heart flame shot out and entered the medicinal cauldron through the fire outlet. The instant it entered the medicinal cauldron, it suddenly expanded and turned into a fierce flame that expanded. Xiao Yan was not overly surprised that this medicinal ingredient possessed the ability to retaliate the burning of the flame. He clearly understood that these kinds of rare medicinal ingredients that could recover spiritual injuries were mostly able to rely on a kind of instinctive ability to block harm from the outside. For example, this medicinal ingredient named snow jade bone ginseng, that was thrown into the medicinal cauldron might be named a ginseng, but its shape was similar to that of a white, jade-like bone. Xiao Yan watched the fierce flame within the medicinal cauldron. A moment later, he slowly shut his eyes. He knew that despite the glazed lotus heart flame strength, attempting to refine this snow jade bone ginseng would at least require a couple of days. All the medicinal ingredients were finally completely refined around 1 month after Xiao Yan entered the deep mountains. After which, he spent another 7 days in order to merge all of these medicinal liquids together. His body had sat in front of the medicinal cauldron without moving for over a month. He repeatedly maneuvered Do Qi to supplement the flame within the medicinal cauldron, so that there was an adequate amount of it. I have finally completed it. Xiao Yan's sleeves wiped off the perspiration on his forehead. His mouth parted to reveal a white set of teeth. This 1-month test of his endurance, like a worker maintaining a fire, had benefited him quite greatly. Even without mentioning the successful merger of the medicinal liquid, Xiao Yan could sense that through this 1 month of burning, he was more practiced in his control over the glazed lotus heart flame, which was the merger of the 2 kinds of heavenly flames within his body, when compared to before. Xiao Yan rested for over 10 minutes after completing the medicinal liquid merger. Only after that did he once again brace his attention, before turning his gaze toward the ancient-looking dark black ring. He hesitated for a moment before slowly removing it. Xiao Yan held the ring gently in his hand. A moment later, he suddenly clenched his teeth and tossed it with his hand. The dark black ring was thrown into the fiery fire within the medicinal cauldron in a skillful manner. The medicinal liquid grew increasingly thinner. Under Xiao Yan's joyful gaze, a layer of faint glow that represented life gradually surged onto the surface of the dark black ring. Teacher, you have been in a slumber for 2 years. It's time to wake up. Awakening Yao Lao's sleeping spirit was an extremely troublesome and slow task. Xiao Yan had already prepared for this. Hence, Xiao Yan was not overly anxious or uneasy that the ring still had no reaction after a month had passed. He would occasionally open his eyes and stare at the ring within the medicinal liquid. A long while later, he would let out a soft sigh before he calmed himself and continued the refinement. Medusa was seated cross-legged on a rock at the top of the mountain. Her tightly shut long eyes were slowly opened as she glanced indifferently at Xiao Yan, who was on the steep wall of the mountain. Her sleek, red lips moved a little as a cold laugh softly sounded. It has already been 2 months. You should have reached your limit. If you were to continue to struggle on, it is likely that someone else will have to come and rescue you. Although Xiao Yan was some distance away, Medusa's cold laughter still managed to be clearly transmitted into the ear of the somewhat pale-faced young man below. Xiao Yan also slowly opened his eyes when he heard the voice floating by the side of his ear. The Do Qi within his body surged as he once again maneuvered a wisp of dark green flame and shot it out from his finger. The flame was finally poured into the medicinal cauldron. Only after doing all of this did he raise his head and asked a question with a smile toward the mountain peak. Why? Are you worried about me? I was worried that I won't be able to obtain the soul recovery pill, if you were to die. The corner of Medusa's lips curled as she spoke coldly. You can rest assured that I am still able to continue enduring this. Your medicinal pill will also definitely reach your hands. Xiao Yan's somewhat pale white face was pulled into a smile. He had repeatedly exhausted his Do Qi to activate the glazed lotus heart flame, and use his spiritual strength to perfectly control the flame for 2 months. Xiao Yan might be able to endure such an exhaustion for a month. However, if time were to drag on, fatigue would gradually appear. Such a degree of squandering was something that even an expert from the Do Huang class could not afford, much less Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan did not continue to split his attention after speaking. He continued to place all of his attention into the medicinal cauldron in front of him. Stubborn fellow. Medusa knit her eyebrows as she watched Xiao Yan focusing his attention on controlling the flame once again. She immediately muttered softly to herself, "What does it have to do with me if he dies? I actually spoke such words to him." Medusa once again knit her brows tightly when she saw Xiao Yan's slightly swaying body. This fellow was really reckless. Although she quietly scolded in her heart, a faint 7-colored energy began to gradually surge on the surface of her body. Xiao Yan clenched his teeth tightly as he forcefully endured the waves of fatigue and the giddy feeling that was transmitted from his head. His eyes stared intently at the dark black ring within the flame as he went all out to drain the Do Qi hidden within every part of his body. He had a premonition that the time for Yao Lao to reawaken was not far away. The Do Qi remaining within his body swarmed out at an increasingly slower pace as he repeatedly squeezed it out. In the end, it even began to become intermittent, a sign of exhaustion. Moreover, Xiao Yan's mind was also completely replaced by fatigue and giddiness. His sight retained traces of blurriness as the angles his body swayed gradually became bigger. Seeking your own death. Medusa grit her silver teeth and softly scolded when she saw the swaying Xiao Yan, who might fall off the cliff at any time. Her body moved forward a little. From her manner, it seemed that she was prepared to act and rescue this stubborn little fellow. Xiao Yan's vision became increasingly blurry. He clearly understood in his heart that he had reached his limit. However, giving up at such a moment, Xiao Yan's teeth bit his tongue. The intense pain braced Xiao Yan's mind a little. He immediately crazily circulated the flame mantra, Qi method route, and the last wave of Do Qi that was hidden deep within his body was completely squeezed out by him. It crazily transversed his body before pouring into the medicinal cauldron. The first feeling that Medusa had toward Xiao Yan was that she wanted to kill this disgusting fellow on the spot. However, deep within her spirit, there was another thing that repeatedly resisted this kind of feeling. Moreover, it even quietly urged her to lend a hand and rescue Xiao Yan. The struggle continued for a moment and the glow within Medusa's eyes once again stabilized. She clenched her teeth and said, "Bastard, consider yourself lucky. I will personally take your life 1 year later." Medusa extended her long arm as her voice sounded. Her delicate arm firmly grabbed Xiao Yan's robes. However, her expression suddenly changed when she was about to bring him back up onto the cliff. She immediately threw her palm toward the space behind her without any hesitation. The space where her hand landed fluctuated. Episode 48 Part 1 will end here. Episode 48 Part 1 will end here.